Hello, hello, hello. We are back, and you have tuned in to the power of transformation. It is wonderful Wednesday. It's around 7 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast. I'm so happy that you are here. My name is Dr. Paula Obie, and I am your host tonight. And I'm going to tell you, I have always said, and I mean it, that I don't want to be anywhere where there are not any young people. I want their energy. I want them to be there. I remember when I was young, hadn't been too long ago, but I love it when they have time to talk to us and share. And on tonight, we have something special for you. We have somebody special again who's going to talk to us. I'm going to let her introduce herself a little later, but right now, let me tell you what I want you to do. Are you listening? I want you to tag your friends. I want you to tag your family. I know some of you in Bible study, so you're going to watch it later. I want you to call them on the phone because we're going to talk to someone who is very, very special tonight, and you're not going to want to miss it. Get your kids on the phone, your teenagers, they need to tune in, and we will be right back.
Pond 5. Pond 5.
We are back and excited. Remember, I said I didn't want to be anywhere where there wasn't a young person because I like their energy, because I remember when I was young. Yes, I do. I remember that. Well, tonight we have a very special lady, and her name is Taylor Blake. And Taylor does a lot of things. I'm going to let her talk about what she does. I tried to list all the things that she had in her bio, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to let her talk about herself. And what I'm going to do is give her a chance as a Zen Generation Z to talk to you and to talk to me. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet and we're going to welcome, put your hands together for Miss Taylor Blake.
Hello, hello. How's everyone
Hello,
doing?
Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited about you being here. I'm just and I just want you to talk about yourself. I mean, you gave me this bio with all of these things that you do, and I'm like, that is not all that you do. Just a little snippet. So I'm going to have you talk about yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to talk about your passions. So go ahead and tell us about yourself.
My name is Taylor Blake. I just recently turned 26, so I am a part of Generation Z. Um, I went to matriculated through Durham Public Schools, then went to Spelman. I'm back here in my hometown in Durham. At Spelman, I started preaching and I led the chapel program for 2 or 3 years there. And that really was my opportunity and my journey to figuring out what it looks like to be in ministry for me. And now I'm back home, sometimes running like a chicken with my head cut off, but enjoying it and learning and growing. And I've probably done a little bit of everything under the sun. I love to learn, and I'm really excited to be here tonight.
Well, I see you as somebody who's quiet until you get into your passion. And then you just turn into this, beast. So you didn't think I knew that word, did you? Just turn into beast mode. I tell you, I have people around me, they tell me what to say. I may not use it right, but I will try. And I love that. I love that about you, how when you step into your passion, you just do your thing. So tell me about your passions. I've seen t-shirts, I've heard you lecture, heard you preach. I've seen all kinds of things. So, what are your real passions? What are they?
Yeah, it's funny that you phrase it as a passion because I don't know that if I had been asked what are your passions a year ago, I would have an answer for you. I like thinking of myself as an introverted extrovert, as in you're right, I can be a little quiet, a little like even kilter, but I think it's either comfortability or just choosing to be bold, even if I don't feel like it, um, where I have to step into whatever it is. In terms of passion, I would say people, and even more specifically, I really do have an interest in Black and African American people and watching them thrive and grow. I think it kind of starts with you being raised in the Black church. That's what you see, and you
Yes.
want them to grow and thrive and be the best people that they can be. And then, of course, I went to Spelman with all Black women, and that was another kind of
Mhm.
staple of being like, no, I want Black women to win. And so even now, I think all of my ministry goals and life goals go back to how can I help people be the best version of themselves. And so, whatever that looks like is what I want to help do. I think a lot of my leadership opportunities have always started with being a servant first, not looking to be a leader. And I think I still kind of start there. How can I help? And then we'll go from there.
Well, how can I help as a leader? That's a servant leader. So that's what you are. I've watched you do a couple of things that just shocked me, but in a good way. And I'm just so happy because when we talk about the next generation, all the next generation, I'm supposed to be here for you. I'm supposed to be the role model for you. So all I want to do is make sure that you have what you need to do what you need to do because I want to see you blossom. And I'm sure other people do. And there are a lot of other folks who want to see not only just the Gen Zs, but the Gen Xs, all of them blossom. But tonight we're talking to you. And I have a little bit of an energy level that's pretty, I can get excited. And I think excitement is important, and that's why I want to because they do get excited, really quickly. They'll be quiet one moment and then very excited the next. So, talk to me about what if you had to choose one purpose, you said your passions, one purpose, maybe that's not fair, but if you had to choose one purpose that would benefit others that are your age, that encourage them, what would that purpose really be? And if you've already said it, that's fine. But what would that one purpose be? Maybe you have more than one.
Yeah, the phrase that always comes in mind for me is bridging the gap. Um, I think that there tends to be quite a lot of disconnect between generations, between people who are in church or out of church, maybe people who are in church and you just sometimes feel like they're missing out on parts of life that aren't necessarily contrary to the Christian journey, but they just don't quite seem to get it. And so the phrase always comes back to me, how can I bridge the gap? How can I show them something just a little bit different to make them think a little differently? And I really think that that is in line with what purpose will look like for me.
So you're still kind of finding that purpose,
I
but
think so. I mean, I don't think I feel like I haven't been doing this long, even though maybe I have been doing it most of my life. But I don't know. I'm kind of one of those people that like to go with the flow, anyways.
hmm
So, you know, I feel like my purpose changes based on what the need is, wherever
yeah,
I'm at and at whatever location I'm at.
yeah, yeah. You've been evolving, though. It's in my mind into this leader who is kind of stepping into that role. I mean, I can just see you transforming. So what's causing the transformation? Because your other friends are listening and they want to transform, be like Taylor. So what's causing that?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is choosing myself. And that sounds a little counterintuitive, because we're taught to be selfless and go out and do and go. And but I think that a lot of us, and myself included, if we did a little more inward work, the world would be a better place. And so for me, choosing myself means saying no to bad ideas. For a very long time, especially at church, they say, I want to do this and that, and I think you can help me. And I'd be like, okay, knowing that it was a terrible idea, knowing it wouldn't work. And I'd go through with the whole thing and be exhausted, and then it wouldn't work. And now you're picking up the pieces, and it just is too much. So for me, it is choosing myself, and that means doing the things that I know I'm supposed to do anyways, right?
Right, right,
Eating
right.
healthy, going to the gym, reading the Bible, reading regular books and not binge watching television. All of those things add up over time. And I know it feels like there's not enough hours in the day. But when you start to make those little changes, I think it kind of makes you a little more confident in what you're doing on an everyday basis.
I think so too, and I definitely agree with you. I was trying to think, just kind of reflect on when I was your age, and I don't think I was that confident. I don't. I remember having some self-esteem issues, and you know what I'm saying, and just trying to figure it out. I was when I was 25. I'm like, oh my god, I'm a quarter of a century. I was going nuts. So I am just really, I was- I'm really happy to hear a confident person who loves to learn. You haven't said one thing about your phone.
Well, you know what? It's really funny that you say confident because I don't ever feel it, ever. Not when I'm up preaching, not when I'm singing, not none of it. Not when I'm with the kids. When I'm always like, whew, shaking in my boots, a little scared, definitely nervous, a little or a lot anxious. But I think what it is a mixture of one, fake it till you make it, and two, knowing that I have never been put in a situation where God didn't have me. I've never been given an opportunity that was not from Him.
Absolutely.
And even if it wasn't from Him, He has the ability to get me out of it. And that is what you have to lean into because I genuinely cannot tell you when I'm like, I am so confident that I'm going to crush this because it never happens. Never happens.
Well, I'm thinking that's probably a good thing for all of us because then that's when we are the most humble, and maybe the most open to whatever he has to say because that's where we need to be. Everybody else may see it one way, and you're busy praying, oh Lord, let me remember this line, let me remember this note. And then what I see, and we see is just a vessel that's moving in the flow, and I think that more folks need to see that as an example. I'm not saying they don't have it, I'm saying they need to see it. What can we do to help folks see their potential? What can we do? We, as in my generation. What can we do
Yeah.
to help you?
The first thing that comes to mind is listen. I think that so often there is this defiance of older generations that says, well, I'm grown and I'm living this life, therefore I have things to say. And you absolutely do. And I'm not going to say it's not valuable. I'm wise enough to understand that people have lived life and they have things to say. But I think a lot of times when we really start looking and comparing to just the way life is different, um, objectively, cell phones, technology, planes, trains, buses, to the tragic things like school shootings and pileups on highways that didn't exist years ago. I think a lot of times we like to ignore it. One of the things that I say about people in church is that they like to ignore the outside world and choose whatever is going on in the Christian walk, but like you have to find a way to merge the two, right? You have to find a way to say this is what the Bible says, but also I'm understanding what's happening out here. You
Right.
can't ignore it. You have to find a way to use it to get through it.
Mhm.
And so I think one of the first things we need is to listen. You've been there. I'm sure some of the people listening have been there we've had the forums and the panels and the platforms, and everybody under the age of, I don't know, 35 has said, "You're not listening. We're telling you, you're not listening." Da 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 da. And everybody has a response. And for years and years and years, and now decades, somebody has said, "You're not listening," and nothing's changed, right? So I think the first thing is actually listening, active listening, and then saying, "Okay, what can I do to make this happen?" And so the second part of that for me is being okay with not being in the mix.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I wish I could sit down and not do anything. How many times I wish I could just be one of those pew warmers. I come in right on time, get to my seat, enjoy service, and tiptoe right back out as soon as it's over. And there's value there. We need those people there. We need you to be hype and loud and ready to worship. But I think so many people are fighting for visibility, leadership, that they're not quite understanding that they may not even meet those needs. They're not
Mhm.
even having the introspection to say, you know what? I'm 60 and I probably can't relate to the 10-year-olds at children's church right now. Let me step back. Let me be an advisor. Let me be a sponsor. Let me be the helper, not let me be in charge. That takes a lot of like introspection. I understand there's a long way to go for that, but I think that there's a lot of people that if they would just take their hands off of stuff, it would change a lot of things.
And I think yes, yes, yes. And I think part of a person not wanting to take their hands off of something maybe because they may not have something else going on,
Hmm.
so that was a really big part of their life. But if they were to try stepping back and utilizing those other roles as a sponsor, they'll be busy. As a support system, they'll be very, very busy finding the way to support you in so many different areas. Finance. I mean, there's just a laundry list that we could go through that they could be a help. So encouraging that is important. I guarantee you, every generation has said to the other generation that they weren't listening.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you that. And somewhere down the line, I'm probably sure I said, "You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. You're not hearing
Absolutely.
me." So now, what I love about just talking to you is the fact that at 25, I didn't feel comfortable saying those things. I'd get in my group and say, they won't listen. They're not going to listen. So don't say
Yeah.
anything. But you have the courage to say, "You're not listening to me."
Well, you know what? I think that that is one of the things that is causing this kind of uproar when we talk about Gen Z or even these later millennials. We always have this conversation. I say we older folks have the conversation. They say they're just disrespectful and they're not listening, and we're telling them you have to do it this way. But I think that's the difference in life. When you've seen people or you've grown up with people who have made millions of dollars on the internet, doing things step by step doesn't make sense anymore.
Right.
When my counterparts at 25 can be making $1 million in Milan because they put on makeup,
Yes. Yes.
it doesn't make sense anymore. And I think that a lot of Gen Z, they have years and years of exposure to other things, not the things that we were allowed to see, but all of the things in life. And I think that it's just an understanding that if I don't speak up now, I'll wind up being 50 and I still won't have anything to show for myself.
Right.
Right? So I might as well do it while I'm young and I'm able, even if it makes a couple people mad, because you don't want to regret it, right? You don't want to miss out on all those other things that could be happening if you started now.
Yes, yes, yes. And you are exposed to a lot of things I was not exposed to. The world has changed. You're right. There weren't many 25-year-old millionaires, overnight millionaires. Now they can be. That gives you a different perspective on life
Mhm.
if you have those abilities. And that we're just naming a couple of abilities that you have that kind of blows my mind every time I figure it out. But you have the courage to try. And that's a big difference between you and someone else. You actually will stay up all night and work on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I have to credit to first of all my parents. I did not grow up in a household where I was allowed to be timid, and um, so it was one of those things that, like, I hear that you're anxious, I hear that you are a little worried. However, comma, we're moving on and we're going to do it, and you're going to do it well because that's what we are taught to do. And I
Mhm.
think that there's just years and years of training, and also, and I say this again about the whole introverted extroverted thing. I have never thought of myself as a public speaker ever, but somehow I am consistently doing it. And it really is just one of those things you learn early that trial by fire works. And if you just go it and do it and get it over with, you're like, okay, wait, I I might have hated every minute of it, but it's done. It's over. It probably went better than I thought it did. So it makes the second time a little easier, and you keep moving.
You do. And we live in a world where we really have to be able to speak. Whether we like it or not, our voice is very important. It's vital. How to use it is vital. And I know that there are some households where they don't teach you how to really speak through things and talk through things, and do that critical thinking, and why do you feel that way, and where did you get that opinion, and okay, well, talk to me a little bit more. And the reason that it's important is because when you go out into the world, you're competing against other people who have been trained.
Hmm.
I was a person that was, a little timid and naive. So I was saying to myself, I don't know if I can be like them. Yes, with practice, all they're doing is using their mind and they're using their
Hmm.
ideas. So I'm proud of you. What are your goals for the next year? What are your short-term goals? If you have thought about them and want to share.
Yeah. Short term goals. I think I had a bunch. We talked about how I kind of have my hand in so many things, and I enjoy being busy and having my hands in a lot of things. But for me, the main thing is consistency in all the things that I do. I don't necessarily believe that at this moment in my life, I have to choose, but I do have to choose to be consistent, right? So if it's the gym consistently, then that's one of my goals. If it is my small business and saying I want to have 10 orders a month consistently for a year, that's also part of my goals. In terms of ministry, with Fisher Tribe, our church, and then things that I can do individually, my goal is to say yes to whatever God has given me the opportunity to do. I am hard pressed sometimes to make short term goals because what's the phrase when you tell God what you're going to do, He laughs? That's how I feel about a lot of this. Like, I've done the whole let's be type A and plan every minute of your day, and it was like absolutely not happening. This is a disaster. So for me, the goal is to be consistent. Period. With God, with my health, with
Yeah,
myself, and that's it.
I love that. And one of the things that I heard somebody say the other day, and as you were talking about consistency, and I want to know how to continue to encourage us to have self love. You said it a couple times. Yes, I do need to hit the gym. I was really happy that I ate my salad today. I was just so excited. A
Hmm.
choice, making good choices. We need to learn how to have self love. Do you think the Gen Z folks need to learn how to love themselves more? Do we need to learn how to love ourselves more? What are your comments on that?
Yes, everybody needs to learn how to love themselves more. I just think it's different depending on the generation. I think Gen Z does a very good job of portraying loving themselves, but it may not be what's happening in practice, right? Because loving yourself means making good decisions and not just those outward decisions that are going to look good on social media, but good decisions where you're loving yourself behind closed doors, right? That's the reading and the praying and the introspection and things like that. And I think for older generations, loving themselves will look like a lot of forgiveness for self. I think it'll look like softness, and some opportunity to just be a little less hard and a little less militant, because that also is a form of love. If you can't forgive yourself, you can't forgive anybody else, right?
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
you are angry with yourself for decisions you made 10 years ago, of course you're angry with all the children that come up, right? I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, "Oh, when I was your age, I couldn't do that." And I think to myself, I hear you, but that makes me sad. It's that makes me sad. That statement means nothing to me besides the fact that, wow, I'm sad that you felt that way. But I think that that goes with love. When you learn to love yourself, you realize that wasn't okay, and I can't repeat it.
Right.
And I think a lot of the things that we're seeing when we talk about fractures between generations or even in the church, a lot of it is people didn't love themselves enough to get them out of whatever was happening, and now they're repeating the cycle. And those people said, "Hold on, I'm not doing this," and they left.
Right.
And so now we have this great disconnect because there really isn't a middle ground. We don't really see millennials in church.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we're jumping from a whole generation, and there's no one to be like, "Hey, I know you think they don't understand, but..."
Yes. And there's a relationship component that seems to be missing. And a lot of people aren't taught to have safe, loving, and kind and relationships that are meaningful. It wasn't a conversation. Not really. Not like it is now. We have a lot of focus on relationships. And the church is about relationships, right?
Should be.
So, I mean, there are people in there, so they should have relationships. So, I think many times we have to reflect on the fact that I'm here to have a healthy relationship with you. What does that look like? What does that mean? Well, love is patient, love is kind. We have the instructions. And
Hmm.
sometimes my way was not the right way because it was taught in a way that wasn't the right way for someone else. But I give you the opportunity to live in your day. You know, I don't want to take your microwave away from you and say that you have to use the oven all the time because many of us will probably starve to death. I don't want to take your car away from you and tell you have to, ride a horse. I'm nothing wrong with horses; they're beautiful. I mean, as a mode of transportation on a daily basis,
Right.
I would prefer my car. So
Absolutely.
I think that we have to really be open to listening to what you're saying because that great idea that you have probably could help everybody and someone
Yeah,
else in your tribe. So you use the word tribe. I just love
I
that.
do.
What's the tribe? Talk to me about the tribe. The tribe did a good job the
Yeah.
other day. I'm trying to tell you, y'all. I try to
Thank
look
you.
cute. Try to sit in on those Sundays and just relax because that's the only Sunday I don't have to do anything. But then you all start shifting the atmosphere, and I'm like,
Well, let me first say we enjoy it. We need the extra hype. Be as loud as you want to be because it encourages us to be a little more bold and a little more carefree, which is what we want. But yeah, Tribe is the young adult ministry at Fisher. Honestly, I've been saying I wanted to do it, wanted to do it, and I prayed hard. And Tribe came up, and I was like, that's that's exactly what I want. I want cross communication between people. I think a lot of times we do a lot of focus on me and God, me and God, me and God, and that's great. But I can't do anything about you and God. Only God can do something about you and God. But
mm-hmm,
what about over here, right? How do we communicate? How do you have accountability? Are there people in your life that want the same things for you that you want for you and God wants for you, right? And so I thought about it, and tribe just made sense. I want you to find a group of people who are like minded, who understand what the goal is and understand who you serve and who you are. And that is how tribe came into fruition. And we got lucky because I had a cousin and some distant family members in the audience. And I said, "Hey, this is what I want to do." And they were like, "Okay, don't know what it means, but let's do it." And now we're growing and we're adding. We have, praise team and outings, and we're working on some Bible studies. And honestly, it's been great. I hope it grows tremendously, because I think that the young adult component has been missing in church for a lot of people for a long time. We kind of go straight from like teen ministry to marriage ministry. There's nothing in between,
No in
right?
between.
Like, even at the really big churches, it's like, okay, we have the youth ministry, and then we have like the young ministry for the married adults. And you're like, wait a second. Hello. There are steps there for a lot of people, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And so I think it's really important, to really focus in, because if you think about longevity of the church, if you don't make sure they're there at that young adult age, they're not going to come back anytime soon. When they start having kids, they won't have kids to put in children's church,
Hmm.
so it's important to get that group in and ready to and willing to serve. And yeah, Tribe has been great so far. I'm excited about where it can go, and we're excited that people are excited for us.
Well, the tribe's transforming. I mean, you really are. Right before my eyes, I'm going,
Hmm.
you were really doing some things, and I like that, and that's what makes me happy. Every now and then, at the end of service, I'll close my eyes and listen to the chatter, and everybody's
Hmm.
talking and laughing. One of the things, and both of us are PKs, and one of the things that I always wanted was people to understand that the socializing is important. Sure, I can get in my car and go home, but there are a lot of people who get in their car and they're lonely. But if we can socialize just a little bit, make a friend, part of that's evangelism.
Hmm.
And then you're, hanging out. Now, the tribe, y'all know how to hang out. I know you do. Because when I was raised, I knew how to hang out. And it really brings you closer together. And I think sometimes we forget how important it is to be close together with young people as well as somebody that's older than us. So thank you, tribe, for keeping us young, because I think that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think something else that I think Tribe is so important for the health of the church, because it is a reminder to have some levity. I think a lot of times we got so just woe is me, wade in the water, and can't nobody separate me from God. And you're like, ugh, yes, but also, can we have a little fun? Can we breathe a little bit? We don't have to be trudging through the waters of slavery every Sunday. We can do some other things. There are some other, avenues of who God is.
Yeah.
And, He's a God that also turned water into wine and had David dancing out of his clothes and gave people colorful robes and so on and so forth. And so all of those things, they're a little lighter than what I think every Sunday service is looking like. And I think seeing Tribe and, the energy that we can sometimes bring to service is just a reminder that, like, hey, it doesn't always have to be so just, whew.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm feeling it. It's changing me. I like it. I really really love it. I think other people. I look around. I think other people are enjoying it because of your boldness and your ability to want to be used. Socialization and socializing with human beings is a big part of who God is. Remember, He came down every day and talked to His peeps before they didn't want him hang out anymore. And I think we sometimes misunderstand that we can be social and love God at the same time and be loving and kind at the same time. No, we're not Pollyannas, but I don't need that overcritical environment every day. Sometimes I do need to laugh. Even the Bible talks about laughter,
Hmm.
So sometimes we need to have that youthfulness. And thank you for bringing it to us. I appreciate it. I don't want to ever, as I said before, be in a place where there are no young people. I have one particular young person. She keeps me grounded. She tells it like it is, no chaser all the time. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And I need to keep hearing that because I don't want to ever get to a point where I'm not listening.
Yeah.
I may not agree, and we disagree quite often.
Hmm.
And I found out that when I'm quiet, she's saying the exact same things I'm saying. She's just using different terminology.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I've just wasted my 20 minutes dissertation on something that she said in 2 seconds, you know? So thank you for reminding us. So I'm really proud of you, and I'm really proud of what you're doing. I
Thank
like the
you.
energy. I hope you continue with that energy because it's needed. I think it's making a difference. I really
I
do
hope
believe
so.
that it's making a difference. I really do. I think that if we just had the opportunity to stand back and have that 30,000 foot view, we would see it's making a difference. When people can come together and do different things and get along, it's cool. It's very cool. So, have you enjoyed the show tonight? Do I need to bring you back and talk a little bit more about some things because I have a lot of questions.
I would love to come
I
back.
have
I
tons of
certainly
questions.
did enjoy it. I would come back in a heartbeat.
Hmm. And we might have to bring a few of your friends back
And
because
I
I'm
think you
sure
would
other
love
folk are
it.
going to want to know what this tribe is about. They're going to want to know because
Absolutely.
I, I didn't have a tribe. I
I
didn't
didn't
have a tribe.
either. I had to create one.
We just came in, sat down, did that, but I didn't have a tribe. We didn't have that tribe mentality,
Hmm.
and I think that we need it more than we're willing to admit.
Yep.
There are some people who need young people in their lives. They do. So don't ever stop. And I'm hoping that it will continue to grow. So again, you've given us some instruction. We need to listen. What else do we need to do? We need to pay some money, don't we? We need to
Listen,
support you financially.
we need support and aid. We don't necessarily need strategists right now, but we do need support and aid. We need people who are going to be reliable.
Woo, what does that mean? I mean, okay.
Whew. You know, when you say you're going to be there at 10 o'clock to help us set up and you show up at 12 o'clock when we're done.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. So we have work to do. Work to do. So if someone were to say, what is the one thing that you want people to take away from this show tonight, from this broadcast? We didn't
Hmm.
talk a lot about you being a minister, but you did because there's so many things. I think people minister every day. I think PKs sometimes minister a lot more than we think we do.
Who? Hmm.
I really do. So if someone said, I watched that broadcast and I took away, the older people need to listen and, the times are different, but, let us do what God has called and created us to do. What do you want them to remember about tonight?
Um, that's good. What do I want them to remember?
Isn't that good?
It is. It is.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's two things. I'm going to say two things. The first thing is do all the things that you know you're supposed to do. Um, there are so many things on that everyday checklist that we miss. Maybe it's as simple as putting on sunscreen or going to the gym or doing more than just a 2 minute devotional, but actually reading the Bible. So, my first thing is just for anybody who wants to grow in their relationship, do all the things that you know you're supposed to do. But when we're about, but when we're talking about specifically young people and their relationship, I would say, I would say, choose an opportunity to listen first and change.
And change.
Listen and change. I think a lot of times we listen and there is no change. And I think that we have to be open and honest with ourselves and the environments that we are in to want to change.
Hmm. Hmm. People have to want to be where you are, and even before you speak, the spirit around you speaks first. So you want to be able to walk into the place, or I want to be, and people go, "Oh, hi!" Or somebody walked in that's got a relatively nice spirit. We're not always going to be happy.
No.
Things are not always going to work out okay. And I don't want anyone to feel like we have a Pollyanna kind of approach, because that's not true.
It is not true at
We
all.
have to deal. We have to deal with things. And there's some days when I'm sitting there and I'm smiling, but maybe I don't feel so good on the inside.
Well, I think as PKs, we do that a lot from the beginning. There were plenty of days where smiling is the last thing you want to do.
Yeah. But we do it anyway because we want it to be a better day. But we have to respect the fact that sometimes it's not going to be a good day. But then when you get into a presence of somebody laughing and giggling, or that one song, one song, or that one chord, because I love our musicians.
Mm-hmm.
That one chord or that one smile makes a difference. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not in your generation, but I can support you.
And
You
we
know,
appreciate it so
I
much.
can I can support you. Maybe I need to support you a little bit more. But you can pass out flyers. Just say come support the tribe. We need you. Well, I really enjoyed myself, and I really appreciate you. I know there's so much more that can be said. Maybe we'll bring you back and with your friends and let you talk. One um, Wednesday out of each month is going to be dedicated to youth. I want I want to talk or listen. Maybe I talk too much and need to have you listen. I need to listen more.
Well, the
But
fact that we're having this conversation means that you definitely are not the problem.
I could be. But one Wednesday out of the month. We don't know which one. And so we want to just keep it coming, keep it going, because I remember that age. And I remember how hard it was not to have people listen to me. So I want to be a better person in that area. All right, Taylor, we get ready to wrap this up. One
Sounds
last
good.
word, and then we're going to bring it in.
I don't have anything. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for having me. I'm pretty chill and even kilter, so this is your show, and I'm just glad to be a part.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And what I always say at the end of the show is we have to trust the process in order for the power of transformation to work in your life. Every day, you have to trust it. Good night, everybody. Thank you,
Have
Taylor
a good
Blake.
night.
We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next week. Have a good night. Thank you.